Welcome to another instructional and educational version of Ham Radio Perspectives. I'm Tom, WA9TDD, and
I am Quinn, K8QS. I provide the instructional part. Tom provides the entertainment part. Got you there. But in this case,
yeah, you got me there.
I got you. But in this case, gang, this is an important little video we're doing here about the 7 essentials for selling your stuff at a Hamfest. Now, I'll give you background in just a second, but let me say that Tom and I, over the years, have gone to zillions of Hamfests. We've sold all kinds of equipment, bought equipment at Hamfests, big Hamfests, small Hamfests. Our work with Hamfest goes back to growing up in Chicago in the 1960s when we went to the Santa Fe Hamfest, called the Hamfesters one, which was big.
Yeah.
And we just learned to love Hamfests or swap meets, whatever it's called in your area. But Tom, so last week I went to a local Hamfest. It's one of the smaller Hamfests in the area, but there are 3 that are very close to where I live during the course of the season for Hamfests. And I always bring stuff along to sell. Usually I'll get 1 table. This time I got 2 tables because I had a bunch of stuff. Now this Hamfest has about 200 people, I'm guessing, that attend it, so it's not real big. But I brought 8 boxes of stuff to sell. Okay? And I returned home with 1 box. And my wife, by the way, helped me load up the 8 boxes and go there and set up. And then she came back and picked me up with the 1 box. She was amazed at how much I sold. And all I had to do is show her that green cash. And she said, "Oh, by the way, do you have about 10 extra 20s there for me?" She liked the results of the Hamfest.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I looked around at the tables there, Tom, and most of these guys, and they're mostly guys, some there with their spouses, were not selling anything. And I'm trying to figure out, what am I doing differently from what they're doing differently? And I put this down into these 7 items. So I want to run them by you, Tom, to get your feedback on it, because I had 1 successful sale here. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind when you're going to sell at a Hamfest is to clean up all of the gear, all of the stuff. Clean it up. I even cleaned up coax, antenna wires. I had a lightning protector there, a high-end lightning protector I wasn't going to use anymore, and it had all kinds of gunk on it. I cleaned all of that off, did a little deox on it. It looked brand new. So my thing is clean up. Almost everything else that people were selling there, unless it was pretty new, looked kind of dirty and greasy and grimy, like it had been kept in a garage.
All right. And it doesn't take much effort to take like a microfiber cloth and maybe some cleaner just to go over it, take off the dust, clean it up a little bit. The one thing I really look at and it really turns me off is when you look at a tuning knob, the knurl tuning knob, and you see all this grunge between the knurls on the tuning knobs. Come on, guys. Take a toothbrush, a little bit of time and effort, clean the thing up, shine up the clear glass protector over the meters. It doesn't take that much effort, and it makes it look a lot more presentable and a lot more inviting, and probably make you a few bucks more than you wish you would make on it.
Yep. Or may even make a difference in whether or not you sell it. Okay.
Right.
Tip number 2 in how to sell your stuff at a Hamfest is to avoid putting junk on the table. Avoid putting junk on the table. Now, what I did at this Hamfest, and what I often do, though, by way of junk, is I'll have a box at one end of the table, never in the middle, because people are going to rifle through this box of junk, and everything in it is free. So I put the free sign up there. I have the box over at the end, and people come by, they stop at my table, they go through that, and they look at other stuff I got. And it's stuff that'll be of value to other people that, what the heck, to say 50 cents or 75 cents on this and pull it up, put it all over the table, all that stuff. Nah, don't do it that way. And other people take some of the bigger junk that they have and they just put it under their tables, or if they're out with a car, and they're selling out of the back of the car at a Hamfest outdoors, they put it under the back of the car. That's nonsense. Get it off to the sides, make it free or close to free, and put that there and keep it away from the good stuff that you've cleaned up on your table.
All right. Think of your table as a car dealership. You don't put the junk, the wholesale beaters out in front. You want to put the nice looking newer models right out there in front to attract the public. Don't make it look junky. That's why they have auctions for your junk.
It's true. I have a friend that's co-owner of a car dealership in town. It's an independent dealership. And I was talking to him recently because he was headed out to the auction south of town where they have, 800 cars a week or something through there. And he showed me the list on the computer of all of the cars. And I thought, wow, some of these are decent cars and all. He said, yeah, but they're older. He said, and the dealerships don't want to put older cars on their lot.
Right.
They don't want to put anything that doesn't look perfect on their lot because it detracts from the other vehicles. So that's the lesson.
Yeah.
Okay. So lesson number 3 for you, tip number 3 to think about selling stuff at a Hamfest is on your table or tables, leave adequate space between items. Don't create piles of stuff, just piles, and don't jam everything together, and don't stack everything up as high as you can stack it. If needed, get more tables. So you spend $8 more, or $10 more for another table. Get it out and get it separated so that when people go by, they see each individual items. Okay? That's my advice.
Right. And, stacked gear takes away from the attention of every other piece of equipment you want to sell. And it makes it seem like you're hiding scratches on units. Going back to the auto idea, don't make it look like a junkyard. Basically simple. Don't stack up crushed vehicles or radios one on top of the other.
Okay, tip number 4 on selling stuff successfully at a Hamfest. This is killer, number 4, gang. Use printed sheets of the current used or new prices and specs for the gear you're selling. So you have a full sheet, like a full sheet of paper, and that sheet has on it what it is that you're selling, what the specs are, if it's currently available if it's currently available new, it includes the new price. If it's used, you go to QRZ or you go to eBay or someplace where it's been sold used and print a recent example of how much it was sold for. And then I use a red marker and I put that price right on there. So if it's selling new right now for $120, but mine is like new, and I may want to start out at the beginning of the Hamfest in the morning, I'll put $80 on there in red, but then I'll have a yellow marker where I mark what the current going price is of it. So I'm not playing pricing games. They can see what's going on with the price. And if they want to try to lowball me, I'll say, well, come back later. We'll see. I'll probably sell it before then.
Right. And, beware especially of the early buyers and the resellers before the Hamfest officially opens. And going back to your sign, make it a presentable sign, print it out maybe on nice paper in a plastic folder, not a piece of a cardboard ripped off of a cardboard box written in magic marker. It looks like we'll work for food.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do this in another video about the types of Hamfest goers. But one type of Hamfest goer is the person who buys a table. They get there early during table setup, but the purpose for that early table is that they go around and they try to get anything they can on a lowball offer, and then they resell it on their table. And so at this small Hamfest I was at, I recognized this guy because he's at every Hamfest early. He came walking down, came looking at different stuff, came right up to mine. He looked at how clean the equipment was and everything, and he started making me offers on stuff. And I said, wait a minute. look at the sheet on each one. It shows my price, and it shows what the thing is currently going for. So if you want to start now, and we're not even open yet officially as a Hamfest, you make your offer right there. And he did not like that. He moved on. He later came by and bought a couple items from me. But so that paper with the price helps with that as well. Okay, tip number 5 on selling at a Hamfest is to stand up behind that table and pay attention to people coming by, pay attention to what they're looking at, and greet people. You can see maybe their call, where they're from, get a little bit of talk going. Not too much talk, because you don't want them just standing there in front of your table so other people can't see stuff. But you want to engage them when they come by. You want to engage them. I cannot believe, Tom, how many of these guys, and they're almost all guys, will be sitting back there in a chair with some other friend of theirs who came along too. And the two of them are yapping away, paying no attention to anyone coming by, and they're not helping to sell anything. It's just like they're going to pack up all that stuff and take it back home, bring it back to the next Hamfest, sit down with the same guy back there and have the same stupid conversation.
Right. And if they're not talking to their buddy over there about nothing at all, they're playing on their phones.
Right. Yeah. You need to be ready to actively engage a potential buyer. Be ready to do that. So when I see somebody and they look at a particular thing, I'm on it. I'm on it. We'll talk more about that in just a second. Okay, tip number 6 on how to sell your stuff at a Hamfest. If available, have a stack of QSL cards at the front of your table, your QSL cards. Because that QSL card shows who you are, where you live, you're a bona fide ham. Someone can pick one up if they're buying something from you so that they have a record of who you are when they're buying it. I think it's an important thing to do. If you don't have QSL cards, you can't do it. And make sure you have your call on your hat or your shirt or something. What do you think, Tom?
And I think that's especially good at the bigger Hamfests, where you're less likely to know people, one or another, or even any mutual friends. They're all strangers. You don't want to be a stranger. You want to make yourself open to them, let them know who you are, like you had mentioned, and make them feel comfortable dealing in business with you.
Yeah, because especially at the bigger Hamfest, as you say, there's a little bit of doubt as whether or not they can trust you. All right. Tip number 7 for selling things successfully at a Hamfest is when a possible customer looks at a particular item, you see them looking at it, you talk with them about that item. You talk it up. You point out the price. You talk a little bit about the history of the item, that it works perfectly, that it's clean. You have that sheet to show them about the specs of it. Before they know it, they're getting more interested. They had a little bit of interest, but many times they don't know that much about it. And so you're going to pass that along to them. And if they decide then that they're just to keep going after you've talked with them about that item a little bit, encourage them to come back later and put it this way. Okay, so if you're interested at all, come back. And if I still have it, I'll be happy to work with you on it. Because
that's excellent. Oh, that's excellent.
Ahead.
I mean, that signals you expect to sell it. You're ready to negotiate. A potential buyer interested in any item might lower your expectations, but you need to realize that when you're negotiating your margin on your price in the first place. Hams love to haggle, and it's part of the culture.
Yes. So if they want to haggle very early on and they're not at the price point that I've marked on the sheet, then I will encourage them to come back later, say, maybe we'll have a deal. And often then you will get a deal later. But in most cases, Tom, I sold most of the stuff early on with the prices that I had on it with no discounting. Everything was clean. Prices were clearly marked. They could see what the value was, even from used items that were sold. And I engaged them as a friend. In a couple of cases, they seemed a little suspicious of me. They didn't know me. And so I pointed out some of the people nearby that knew me that were hanging around. And in fact, in one case, I brought over a guy who's a friend of mine who was familiar with a piece of gear that I was selling, that he used too, so he could talk it up, and bam, it was a sale.
Yeah.
So selling stuff at Hamfests is an art form. And these are 7 tips that I've learned along the way that I put into practice, because I don't want to waste my time hauling a bunch of stuff to a Hamfest and then hauling it home. And my wife doesn't like that either. She likes to see the stuff going. Little does she know that the money that I'm making is going to be poured back into other ham radio stuff with a little off the side for her to go play with as well. So this is Ham Radio Perspectives, where we talk about ham radio technology, history, and culture. And this is part of the culture of Hamfests. I'm Quinn, K8QS.
I'm Tom, WA9TDD.
7-3, everybody. Keep coming, keep subscribing.